What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten football channel. These are our updated predictions after week 2 of the college football season. We're going to show you our original preseason predictions for every Big Ten team and how they have changed since then. And we've already made some pretty significant changes in the Big Ten. Actually, I've changed who I have in the championship game and who I have winning the Big Ten championship. So let's get right into it and show you the standings and our new predictions. In the Big Ten East, we have Ohio State now projected to win this division. They've looked really impressive so far. In the preseason, we had them at 10-2. Had them losing a couple of games. I still think they lose one game, whether it's Michigan at the end of the season on the road, or whether they trip up against Nebraska or Northwestern on the road, or maybe even Michigan State or Penn State gets them. I don't know. But I think they lose one game somewhere on that schedule. I don't know that it's going to be a bad loss, though, this time. That's why I have them still going to the playoffs with the one loss. But yes, we have Ohio State now winning the East. Originally had Michigan winning the East at 11-1, so we flipped those two teams. I still think Michigan might wind up beating Ohio State. I don't know. It's just kind of a gut feeling. It could go down to where Ohio State loses to Michigan, but if they still win the division and go to the Big Ten championship game, that'll be something worth watching. But yes, I have Michigan still having a really good year. I know they've struggled early in the season, but I think they'll get a lot of that fixed as they progress through the year. Of course, new offensive coordinator, new offense. There was going to be some growing pains for this team. But we have Michigan State at number 3. I still have them going 9-3. Haven't really made any changes. I knew the defense was going to be great. It has not been a disappointment. The offense, game 1 wasn't great. Last game it was much better. What are we going to get out of this team? They're very capable of going 10-2. It could come down to Michigan versus Michigan State for number 2 in this division. I'm going to go with Michigan right now, but Michigan State definitely capable of maybe having a 10-2 season as well. Penn State I have at number 4. The way their schedule sets up, I still feel like they're going to lose some games. I had them at 8-4 actually in the preseason, but I think they do a little bit better than that, 9-3. So far, so good for the Nittany Lions. They look like they are going to really not miss a beat from where they've been the last few years. Maryland has been a big surprise, of course, beating Syracuse this past weekend. But we've seen Maryland win some big games early in the year in the past. Texas a couple times, actually, and then kind of fall off. So I did bump them up. I had them at 5-7 there. If you see our preseason predictions, bumped them up to 7-5. I do think they're going to be better, but they still have to run the gauntlet there of Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State. Not to mention their other Big Ten games. They have Temple coming up this weekend. That's going to be a tough one. So I've got this team going 7-5, much better than 5-7, but I think that schedule is still too tough for them to be anywhere near 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, anything like that. Indiana we still have at 5-7, and Rutgers we still have at 2-10. So we've made no changes with those two teams. In the West, we've made a huge change to our number 1 team. We had Wisconsin going 6-6 preseason, and I've been hearing about it. I've been hearing about it from Wisconsin fans because I did not project them to do very well this season. I'm not the only one. I went and looked it up. I was just curious. The FBI had Wisconsin right at 6-6 as well, had them ranked number 38. So it's not like I was alone in expecting Wisconsin to be just average this year. But so far, they've looked great. Defenses look phenomenal. Jack Cohen looking good at quarterback. This team looks like they are the favorites to win this division, and I don't think it's even going to be close, at least based off of what we've seen so far. A lot of things could obviously change between now and the end of the season, but I had Nebraska winning this division in the preseason. I still think they bounce back and have a pretty good year. I think they're going to go 7-5, not quite 9-3 like we expected in the preseason. That Colorado loss really hurts. But I don't think that Nebraska is going to fall apart or anything like that. I think they still have a much better year than last year. They go 7-5, get to a bowl game, but just not quite the 9-3 that we had projected. And, of course, I had Nebraska winning the division. I've got Iowa at 7-5. Haven't made any changes to where we had them in the preseason. That's exactly where we had Iowa. And it's just we haven't seen them really play anybody good yet. So maybe next week they'll go up or maybe even go down. We'll see what happens against Iowa State. That's going to be a really tough matchup for them, but it'll be a good measuring stick to see just how good this Iowa team is. Northwestern at number 4 dropped them to 6-6. 7-5 was our prediction in the preseason. Just for whatever reason, we've dropped them a game, but I haven't really seen much from this team either. Purdue, We had them at 6-6. The Nevada loss, though, brings them down to 5-7 because I was not anticipating them losing that game. So they do fall a little bit. Now we do not have Purdue go into a bowl game. They did play much better last week, so we'll see how they look the next couple of weeks, and that may actually go back up. Minnesota at number 6, we've dropped them a little bit as well from 8-4 to 7-5. Now, if you move Wisconsin up, we're giving them 4 more wins. Some teams have to go down. Some teams we have to give more losses, obviously. Illinois, another example there. We dropped them from 5-7 to 4-8. So some of these teams we thought, maybe they'll beat Wisconsin. Now we think no chance. So maybe that's why they've dropped. But there are just different reasons here when we do these updated predictions. But Wisconsin is our Big Ten West winner. Nebraska, I think, still alive, but it's going to be tough for them. Here we go. Big Ten championship game, Wisconsin versus Ohio State. Who will win this one? They played just a couple of years ago. It was actually a pretty good game. Ohio State has owned the Big Ten the last few years. They've won the championship every single year. Can Wisconsin break through? I tell you what we saw from weeks 1 and weeks 2 out of Wisconsin, it makes you think they could compete with Ohio State. They could potentially beat them this season. They have a difficult schedule, but Wisconsin has a really tough Big Ten schedule. They play some of the best teams out of the East, and I still think they get there, but I don't think that they win it. I like Ohio State to win once again. They're playing better on the defensive side. Justin Fields looks good. I've got the Buckeyes winning the Big Ten championship game over Wisconsin, so that's a pretty big change. I mean, if you follow me in the preseason, we had Nebraska over Michigan, and if you remember, I had Michigan there, and I had them with a chance to get to the playoffs if they won the Big Ten championship, and I said, I just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable putting this team in the playoffs. I just, for whatever reason, I'm not so sure about it. Even though I think they're a better team than Nebraska, I made the upset call there, picked Nebraska to beat Michigan, just because I didn't feel comfortable putting Michigan in the playoffs. That looks like it might have been a good call, but obviously we're probably not going to get the Big Ten championship game right. I mean, long ways to go. Maybe we will, but as of now, I've completely changed the teams in the championship game. So how about the odds to win the division? We will start with the Big Ten East. I've got Ohio State at 38%. They would be my favorite by far right now. Not by far, but by a decent percentage. But I've still got Michigan at number 2. The schedule plays out pretty well for them. They get Michigan State at home. They get Ohio State at home. And not too tough of a cross-divisional schedule against the West. They do have Wisconsin. That's coming up actually not this week, but the next week. That is going to be a big-time game there. But yes, we have Michigan at 27%. I still think they have a decent chance. Penn State and Michigan State are tied at 15%. Now, these teams look pretty good so far. Can they compete with Michigan and Ohio State? That's the question. I mean, they can compete with them, obviously, but can they? To get there, you may have to beat both of those teams. I mean, realistically, that's probably what you're going to have to do, and that is going to be tough. So I only had them at 15%. Maryland was not even on the radar. We have put them on here at 5%. They've looked good through 2 games. I'm not going to overreact and say they're the favorites to win the East, but I will at least acknowledge them and give them a percentage here to possibly win the division. We go to the West now. Nebraska was our pick here. They were the favorites, but we switched that to Wisconsin. 35% chance of Wisconsin winning the division based off of what we have seen so far. Nebraska's still there, not far away at 25%. So kind of a similar percentage difference there with Ohio State and Michigan and Wisconsin and Nebraska. Those are the 2 teams on each side that I feel pretty confident will win their divisions. Iowa, you can't count out. 20%. They've looked pretty good so far. I need to see a little bit more from them, see them play a quality opponent, and then they might go up. But I haven't really been able to judge them too much yet. Northwestern with that tough loss to Stanford. The quarterback position doesn't look as good as I thought it would. I mean, Hunter Johnson didn't look great against Stanford. It was a pretty good defense, but then again, you look at USC and what they did to Stanford. So that's why I'm questioning them a little bit. Minnesota and Purdue at 5%. Don't really think that they have enough talent on the roster to get it done, but you can't count them out because this division still, I think, is wide open. Yes, Wisconsin looks like the front runner, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see one of these other teams win the Big Ten West. How about the odds to win the Big Ten championship? I've got Ohio State as the favorite at 30%, Michigan at 20%, Wisconsin at 20%. Wisconsin you could raise Wisconsin actually a little bit just because they have a better chance to get to the Big Ten championship game compared to Michigan. But I'm going to put them both at 20%. Ohio State, though, is the favorite in my opinion. I've got Michigan State at 13%, Penn State at 11%. The only reason I have Michigan State a little bit higher is I think Michigan State would have a better chance to win the game, the Big Ten championship game, once they got there because of that defense. Look at the past to get to the Big Ten championship game. I think Michigan State and Penn State are pretty much tied, but after they got there, I mean, we're splitting hairs here. It's just 13 and 11%, not much difference. 5% chance of Nebraska winning the Big Ten, the team that I picked to win it. So yeah, the team that we had winning it, we're only giving them a 5% chance. That's a pretty big drop. And we'll say everyone else has a 1% chance combined. So we're not going to say that it's guaranteed to be out of these 6 teams, but because the Big Ten is kind of wide open, but more than likely it's going to be one of these 6 teams. I think it's going to be one of those first 4 teams myself. But that's our picks for the Big Ten, our updated predictions after week 2. I'd love to know what you guys think about it and what you think now about the Big Ten and how your predictions might have changed. You can let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more here on our Big Ten football channel.